And Mal Fletcher joins me now, who's a futurist. Mal, how are you?
I'm very well, Petrie. How are you?
Oh, brilliant. It's lovely to see you as ever. Let's talk AI and elections. There was some interference, we know that. There were some deep fakes. But I wonder if people actually did spot those. But is there a report on how much AI did interfere with our election?
I don't think there is yet, and I think that's an indication of how little government actually thinks about AI in the electoral processes. One of the things that marked this election, of course, on a more light-hearted note, I suppose, is that we had our first ever AI-generated candidate.
Yeah.
AI Steve, as he was called. And
the name was a bit of a giveaway, wasn't it, on the ballot?
Yeah. just a little bit. It was basically just an online avatar, and it offered to have a chatbot conversation with everyone in the constituency. I think it was Brighton Pavilion. Didn't do very well, but it did show that AI will soon be part of our elections. And I think Tony Blair gave some advice, good advice, to the Labor Party just before the election. He said, you've got to focus on this technology revolution. It's going to change everything about our society. And I think he was right. AI could easily threaten so much that we take for granted with our democracy. In manipulating public opinion, you mentioned deep fakes, in producing micro-targeted propaganda, identifying people who are susceptible to certain forms of suggestion, then targeting them with propaganda that plays on those fears. It could be used in cyber attacks by unfriendly foreign powers. And that's going to be a big challenge as we move more and more towards electronic voting in the next decade. So, democracy relies on transparency, but AI systems are opaque. We don't always know who's building them, how they're built, what they're doing, or who might be misusing them. So the government needs to pay attention, Petrie, to this now, not in 3 or 4 years or 5 years when we have our next election.
The thing is, I did wonder when Tony Blair made this point if he had any shares in AI companies, but that's just me being incredibly cynical, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't really know it, do we? That's the problem. It's out. This beast is out there. That all we know is that it can lie. We know that it is racist. We know that it does have issues, but it's out there now. There's no putting that back in the bottle, is there?
No, not really. And it is growing. If you listen to the latest reports, I mean, there are different figures out every week, but the latest report says it's growing in quite phenomenal ways that even its pioneers don't really understand and haven't done for some time. And they're quite honest about that now. We don't really know how it's doing, what it's doing. I saw one report last week by a person who was a pioneer of AI who said, 5 years ago, I thought it would take 14 years to get to where we are today. And here we are, and it's growing faster than we can imagine. And used the wrong way, I think it can sow distrust, not just in public institutions, but in our fellow citizens. Most of us already suspect that social media has had a very negative effect on social cohesion, but imagine how much worse things would be if you added AI to that list, to that mix. And it could push us toward authoritarianism, which none of us in Britain want. Autocratic regimes rely on misleading the public, on playing on its fears and manipulating opinion. So we need to hold developers to account, and we need to make sure governments act on all of this.